Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's video on the Sideline Scoop. So today I'm going to take a look at Aaron Jones and his contract situation coming into this 2020 season, because he's going to be a free agent after this 2020 season. If you didn't already know that, now you know. So I'm going to sort of talk about whether I think the Packers will sign him after this year. I think there's sort of reasons on both sides. I think there's lots of reasons for why they would want to sign him, of course. Then I could also see the scenario of him possibly no longer being with the Packers after the 2020 season because maybe they don't want to pay him a lot of money. So I'm going to sort of go through each of those things, sort of the reasons why they would keep him, the reasons why they might, want to let him go after this upcoming 2020 season. So if you guys are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Luke Beller. I post videos about the Green Bay Packers because I'm a Packers fan and also fantasy football as well. So you can check some of those videos out on my channel if you're interested in those kinds of things. All right, so let's take a look at Aaron Jones. So last season, he put up some very, very stellar numbers, some of the best numbers in the NFL when it came to running backs. He was the number one, or tied for first with Derrick Henry, for rushing touchdowns in the NFL with 16, and he also had 3 reception touchdowns. So a total of 19 touchdowns, which obviously helped the Packers out a ton. He played in all 16 games last season. He ran the ball 236 times for 1,084 yards, and then he had 49 receptions for 474 yards. So last season, Aaron Jones was one of the bright spots on the Packers offense, one of the best running backs in fantasy football as well. And last season, I think, just sort of upped his price, obviously, considering he put up such crazy numbers, some of the best numbers in the league. And because of that great season, he's definitely going to be getting a bigger contract than he would have gotten because he put up some stellar numbers. So, of course, he's going to get paid most likely after the 2020 season. Of course, we have to see how he does in 2020 if he can sort of keep up those numbers. But if we sort of take a look back, in 2018, he still put up really solid numbers. He only played in 12 games that year, and that's why he didn't put up, better stat line than the 2019 season, because in 2019 he played all 16 games. But if you look at 2018, he ran the ball 133 times for 728 yards. He had 8 touchdowns rushing, and then he had 26 receptions for 206 yards and 1 receiving touchdown. And so if you look at those stats, he had a very similar touchdown rushing percentage. If you look at 2019, of all of his rushes, 6% were touchdowns. And if you look at 2019, in 2019, 6.7% of his rushes were touchdowns. And if you look at 2018, 6% of his rushes were touchdowns. So it was actually a very similar rushing touchdown number, but because he only had 133 attempts in 2018 and he had 236 in 2019, that's sort of why he didn't score as many touchdowns as he did in 2018. So that's a very solid stat line, and it'll be really interesting to see if he can keep that up coming into 2020 with sort of a more crowded backfield than he has had in the past. Because now one thing that you sort of have to take into account, at least that I think is sort of important, is the Packers drafting A.J. Dillon in the second round. I think sort of changes things a little bit for this, running back situation and whether or not the Packers will keep him after the 2020 season. Because I think before, if the Packers had just stuck with Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams, then I think it would be more likely that the Packers would keep him along for the ride, Aaron Jones. But now the fact that the Packers drafted A.J. Dillon in the second round, that really shows that, Gutekunst and LaFleur really like A.J. Dillon. And so if at the end of the 2020 season, Aaron Jones is sort of, I guess they don't want to pay him as much as he probably deserves, I think they'd be more likely to let him go after the 2020 season because they do have A.J. Dillon on this team. And so I think one thing that we're just have to watch in 2020 is how well A.J. Dillon really does. Because if he's a great running back, and he can put up some great numbers, then I think that's more of a reason for them to keep him and let go of Aaron Jones, because Aaron Jones is going to get paid a lot of money after this season most likely, and A.J. Dillon is obviously a rookie in the league, so he will have a much smaller contract. And one other thing to keep into account when it comes to re-signing Aaron Jones is you have to look at the other Packers players who after this 2020 season are going to be free agents, because there are a few key players who are going to be free agents after this 2020 season. So you have Kenny Clark will be a free agent, David Bakhtiari will be a free agent, Corey Linsley, and Kevin King, and of course Aaron Jones. So some really big names on this Packers offense who the Packers will likely want to re-sign. I feel like they'll re-sign Bakhtiari, maybe Linsley. I think they'll re-sign Kenny Clark. But that's sort of one reason, they can't pay all these guys huge, massive contracts that they deserve. So it's likely that some of these guys, almost guaranteed, I feel like, maybe I'm wrong, but that some of these guys are going to not be on the Packers after the season, and some other team is going to come in and pay them, the money they deserve. And so I guess the question, if you're coming to this video, is is Aaron Jones going to be the one that the Packers will let go? And I think that just comes down to, as I've stated prior, exactly how well he does, how well A.J. Dillon does, and sort of if the Packers want to pay him the big money. So if we take a look at some other NFL contracts, just to sort of get an idea of how much Aaron Jones might be worth in sort of the running back market in the NFL. So I have the top 5 NFL contracts right here. So in this offseason, of course, Christian McCaffrey signed a $16 million deal, the most expensive, or the highest paid running back in the NFL now, with $16 million a year. That's a nice chunk of change. That would be nice to have. And then we have Ezekiel Elliott next with $15 million per year. Le'Veon Bell still with $13 million a year. David Johnson on a contract still with $13 million a year. Then Derrick Henry with $10 million a year. And he is going to be a free agent after like 2020 or 2021. So I think when we take a look at these 5 guys, if Aaron Jones puts up similar numbers to what he did in 2019 in 2020, I think it's likely that he will get a contract that is in this size from like the $10 million to $16 million range. I don't think he won't make more than Christian McCaffrey, because Christian McCaffrey is sort of he's just insane. Like, no one else can really come close to what he does receiving. You know, he put up 1,000 yards rushing and receiving last season, and he's basically sort of all the Panthers have right now. So that makes sense that they would pay him that much money. But if you look at this side that sort of looks at contracts and sort of predicts lots of things in that area, it's called like Spotrac, Spotrac, if you want to take a look at it. But they're estimating that Aaron Jones will make $14.9 million per year after the 2020 season. And honestly, I'm just not sure if the Packers are willing to pay Aaron Jones that much money when it comes to 2021 and beyond. Because if you look in the NFL, the running back position has been devalued. You've seen lots of guys who had been doing really well who sort of left their teams. Like Todd Gurley had a crazy season, signed this massive contract, and then they just let him go and took I think it was a $20 million dead cap hit to their salary cap. So I think that some teams are starting to realize that maybe they don't need these insanely good guys, and they can find guys in the draft and later rounds who can produce at the running back position. Because as I've sort of seen, it's almost like with the running back position, you can sort of plug guys in easier than any other position. So it's sort of a position where you can find value in other places. And one interesting statistic I think too that I sort of saw regarding the paying running backs big money is if you look at the last 6 Super Bowl winners, if you sort of look at the guys who played the majority of snaps, the highest paid running back was James White with only a $3 million contract for that year. So sort of if you look at those teams, 6 of them, and only the running back was $3 million. And then you have these other massively high paid running backs, and none of them have won the Super Bowl recently. So I think that sort of shows that it's more likely, and you probably have a better probability of doing well if you don't have a running back who is, taking up a big portion of your salary cap. And so I think that could be one reason that maybe teams now are recognizing we can pick a guy later in the draft or find someone else to sort of replace this guy. Because as long as we have the things in place, like a good offensive line, good blocking, good overall offense besides the running back, you can sort of plug a guy in. And it's not to say that Aaron Jones isn't insanely talented. It's just to say that there are other guys you can put in and be able to pay other positions and sort of make, I think, a better team overall when you're not paying insane amount of money for the running back position. And another thing is in 2019, the 4 teams with the highest paid running backs missed the playoffs. So it's you're starting to see a trend here. Running backs maybe are going to lose their value as people are starting to recognize we can find other guys. Because, for example, Aaron Jones was a 5th round pick. So it's he's a prime example of a guy you can find later who can come in and fill that running back position. So I think that's one big reason why the Packers might let Aaron Jones go, especially considering they drafted A.J. Dillon. So it'll be interesting to see in this 2020 season what they actually do, when it comes to the backfield. But those are basically some sort of things, I think, reasons why he would stay. Obviously, he is one of the best running backs in the league, and there's no question about that. It just comes down to, does it make the most sense for the Packers as an organization to pay so much at the running back position when they have these other positions that might maybe be, I guess, more important for their team? They might be more likely to pay those guys. So that's sort of the reason why I think he might not be re-signed by the Packers. He definitely could be, because he is a crucial part of this offense, and the Packers can really move him around. He's very versatile. He's an insanely good running back, and he's going to get paid after this 2020 season. It just depends on what team is he going to get paid by. But basically, those are my thoughts on Aaron Jones. Let me know down below if you guys agree. Do you guys have any thoughts about the situation with Aaron Jones, the Packers running back situation, anything like that? I'd be happy to hear your guys' thoughts down below. But that's going to be all for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, feel free to subscribe to this channel. I post about 5 times a week right now, so if you want to get some more content in the future, feel free to subscribe. And here are 2 videos that I posted in the past. Maybe you find them of value or might want to check them out. I don't know, maybe not, but here they are if you want to check them out. But that's basically all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys on the next video.